Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to season 2 of Building CareCo, the podcast, the only podcast that comes and tells you every single week, except for the last 2 or 3 months approximately, how we're doing and what we're doing at CareCo, exactly what we're building. So we started this, I sit down with my co-founder CTO. Welcome back, by the way. You were in Israel last time we did this.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
I got a lot of
basically
white hair since then.
Yeah, you got old, dude. You had a birthday.
A lot of things happened.
What'd you turn?
Somewhere in the upper 30s.
Upper 30s. You turned upper 30s. Anyway, so we're back for season 2. Obviously, a bit of a different setup here. We've taken a little bit of a break, and I'm excited to be back and continue chatting because so much has happened. We've gone through, I think, a lot of ups and downs, as I think any bootstrap startup does. There's been moments of terror, moments of euphoria. I think we've communicated some on the podcast, but definitely in the gap that since we chatted, it was a pretty wild ride, and I feel like in a really good spot right now. Like specifically, I don't know. I just feel like in a really good spot. So you had gone off to Israel. Naturally, different country, communication is different schedule, different time zone. So naturally, I think we weren't operating the way that we were before.
I was also slightly burnt out.
Right.
Had a lot of stuff going on when I was there. So
yeah,
combo.
Yeah. And
it's a good reset though for me.
Yeah. No, you came back like super energized though. And we, you moved into the office sometimes. Yeah. And I it's interesting. While like that period while you were in Israel, even a little before, I felt like we really needed another developer. And because it felt like that was like the missing piece, like because we didn't feel like we were moving as fast as we all wanted. And since you've gotten back, I like genuinely don't feel that way. Like I think we found a really good groove. We've been kicking out products, and I think like everybody's back on like full steam ahead.
We're getting new clients, and
clients are closing.
We're hanging in on
excited.
Support. We're keeping up with support.
Yeah.
New features, new stuff, bunch of small little nice to haves that we're adding. Well, we're in a good rhythm.
Yeah, really, really good rhythm. And we've taken a very, very sales first, like opinion or whatever. And I think a lot of that was due to you. Like you came in and really like communicated that. And I think we've been doing that as far as what we're building, like getting really focused on selling first and building backwards basically. Yeah. And not just taking in every, we also like, it takes moments like this to actually have conversations to appreciate it. But like what happened was, it was obviously a little longer than we wanted, but maybe it was 6 months ago where I basically said, all right, guys, we're going to finish out the feature set in order to get profitable. Like that's basically what we're going to do, because we had barriers for people coming over, things like texting, things like...
we had a dilemma basically. On the one hand, we had the big thing we were chasing, like, AGI, the AGI of our space, so to speak, which was lofty and amazing, but also not like immediate, and it's not like there's a direct path to sales. But on the other hand, we knew there was a lot of clients that were interested, prospective clients, but they just needed this and they just needed video. And then before you know it, every week you're like, okay, let's just do this, let's just do that. And then you look back and you're like, 1 second, that was a year. Right. And then what happened? And we haven't moved forward. So you're always in that dilemma. And that's why we had that conversation. You said, let's just get to profitability. Then we don't need new clients. We'll focus on the bigger picture, on the long thing. And that was what we talked about then. Yeah.
And I'm glad to say that basically last month we hit profitability, which is super exciting. And we've made boom.
That like effects.
Yeah. And we made that shift. Like we remembered and we were like, and now I'm basically telling clients when they come, like, totally get it. We can put this like on a shelf somewhere. We can put this idea, we can put this feature request, but we are working on something absolutely incredible. We have made a tremendous amount of headway. We should be kicking out a version pretty soon of generation 2 of the call guide, which is going to be tremendous. I've been selling it every single day. People are very excited about it. And it just makes things easier when you're like, okay, we went on a binge towards profitability. We hit that. Now we don't have to sell our roadmap just to get clients in the door. Now we can afford. And the other things that I think our clients, and this is maybe what feels really nice, is like our clients, I feel from talking to our clients that they trust us to an extent, and they they expect greatness from CareCo, and it feels like everyone understands that they're on a journey here, and we're building very, very interesting things. And so when I have conversations with folks like, cool, we want to get to that, but let me explain to you why I'm not going to do that. Because we're doing this, and this is what we're focused on, it totally makes sense to people. And I think they've used CareCo and love CareCo to the point where they trust us. They're like, okay, that's going to be really cool.
They basically realize that you're building something special for them.
Yeah.
And they're looking forward to that, and they're trusting that.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to be visionary when you're building a product, because like you could build a great business and be like very financially savvy and, do all the right business moves and hire very talented people. But if you don't have a vision, then you end up in this loop where you're basically saying, okay, this guy wants that guy wants that. Besides for your product deteriorating, and you end up having a totally dysfunctional product because you have a million options, and you know what those products look like. It's also, you end up basically becoming a glorified dev shop. Like You're just basically always doing whatever your big clients want, and they're kind of dictating your direction instead of you saying, let me take a step back. Where do we want to go? Let me control our destiny. So I think that's why having vision is so important. Like when you're able to say, what is our next big product? What will make a big difference? And and also the ability to focus and say, let's be stubborn and I guess like you're saying, we have credibility with our clients that they know us, they already believe in us because they've used our product and they love our product. Now we have the credibility to say, hey, hang in there. Just wait.
Yeah.
You'll see.
Yeah, it's really incredible. And I was talking to one of our larger clients today. He called me to catch up, and the CEO of this company, and he was telling me how he was at a big conference, and he was he's just going around selling CareCo to people, and he was telling me how there's this massive group, and he was telling this lady this is the way to get your people incredibly more efficient.
He's not a CareCo salesperson.
No,
he's not getting commission.
He's the CEO of a very large group, and he's she's gonna come around. And he's like, yeah, she's gonna, she's gonna use it because it's really good. It's gonna be really good for her. And I told her this is what you need for your business. It's you know what else happened this week? I didn't even tell you this. We had our first instance of a user reaching out to us because she, in addition to the job. So she works for a company who is a CareCo client, and they gave her CareCo. In addition to that job, she has a side job that she works part-time, where I guess she's some sort of healthcare professional. I don't know exactly what capacity yet. I told her to book my calendar to discuss. And she reached out to say, hey, I'd like to buy CareCo for myself.
Oh, wow.
Where I'm going to pay for CareCo. I'd love to buy CareCo for myself for my side job because I'm using it on my business. Right?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to the visionary thing, I think it's a level of confidence for yourself that I think you can only get once you hit profitability. It's very, very difficult to have that attitude before profitability because you're just give me money, I need to pay the bills.
Right.
It's really, really difficult. But the flip side is, we were talking to somebody today that was saying this, and I was talking to a client who was telling me about another platform. He's like, yeah, they're amazing. They told me they'll do whatever we want to build. They're so nice. They're so flexible. And I told him, that's actually a massive red flag. You have to have conviction and confidence in your product where you say to your user sometimes no, you don't want that. You want this.
Anybody who builds whatever his customers want, you just know what the product looks like.
Right.
It doesn't look good.
You're a dev shop. That's what you are.
Yeah. And your customers are not experts in product. They're not product people. They have problems and they're trying to come up with ideas of how to solve it with the software, but usually they're not the experts. And usually if you're following their advice, their lead, usually you're going to end up with a bad product. I mean, even if you want to be like a glorified dev shop, there's still a good way to do it. You kind of try to understand what's the problem. Don't tell me what you want the solution. Let's understand the problem, because myself as an experienced person in this field, I can kind of maybe guide you to the right path. But even then, you're just going to end up building what other people want. There's no vision. There's no this is what we are. This is what we're aiming towards.
Yeah. So it's really been a long time. When did you go to Israel?
When did I go to Israel? It was beginning of July.
Wow.
For the third day of July.
So Shlomo and I did 1 or 2 episodes, and then we basically took a break. So basically since mid-July, August, September, October, 3 months. Took a quarter.
July, August, September, October.
So around 4 months.
4 months? Wow. Yeah, we took the summer off, but
I've been working for more than a month already. I'm back for for 2 months already.
Right. We're finally getting around to getting back into the groove. But hopefully.
You're saying the podcast was off for 4 months, right?
Yeah. I'm talking about the podcast. it was a wild time. It's still a little, I don't know how much I want to really talk about yet, but
You'll need some wine. What
yeah,
happened to
we
the
got to get
wine?
back to the wine days. No, I don't know. It's like, very, 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 it's, yeah, I think it's still maybe a little too raw to really talk about. Like sometimes you can only talk about things once you know that they're over, because then it's like an experience you had in the past. It's very difficult to, like, all these cliches of like appreciate the pain and appreciate the hardship. Like you do understand those things once you get past it, but it's really difficult while you're still kind of
Right.
like in it. And I feel like I'm past it, but yeah, bootstrapping a startup and not knowing like where money's coming from, not knowing how you're gonna make payroll, not knowing like whatever is very, very mentally painful.
Yeah.
I will tell you. And on the flip side, I will tell you I don't know, in Judaism, you kind of hear a lot how like people will say, oh, a business person will trust in God much, much more than a rabbi, because like the rabbi doesn't necessarily see divine providence and how things work out, because they're not really like stressing about like stuff. But a business person is in the world, there's always stuff going wrong, and you always like see like how like God is like helping you out and hooking you up at like different areas. And I never really felt that until like this experience, because I think one of the things that I do, and I think I'm guessing a lot of founders and entrepreneurs type mindset does, maybe there's a couple different styles, but you're always thinking like 10 steps ahead from a failure perspective. Like, okay, if this doesn't work out, then that's going to break. And if that breaks, then that's going to fail. And if that fails, then that's going to get ruined. And if that gets, like, blah, blah, blah. And you just like spiral all the way down, because you always have to like, you checking all the pieces. And I think the trust factor is when you force yourself to just don't think 10, 15 steps ahead, just focus on your next single step. And like,
right.
And your mind goes like, but you don't know if the second step is going to work out, and it's going to fail. And it turns out that like it works out. And like, sometimes people step in and things just come together in a way that I don't know. I'm like shocked by it a little bit.
That's it. You're becoming spiritual.
No.
At a certain age.
Yeah. When you get old, you start becoming spiritual. Yeah, no, it's yeah, things work out.
That's good. I mean, I don't know if everybody can say that, everything works out well for them, but I think it's basically cutting out the noise, the stuff that are not actionable. They're just worries, anxiety, right? And more of just focusing on things that are actionable and looking in the future, not in the next 5 steps. What if this, that?
Yeah.
No? Is that what it is?
I mean, it's a mix. Like at the end of the day, like you have to keep the company alive. That takes money. And if you don't know where that money's coming from, or if you don't have the money, then it's very difficult to not know where the money's going to come from.
Right.
And then when it works out, and then it works out a couple times, and you start realizing that whether it's spirituality, whether it's just the fact that if you persevere and you just keep pushing and you just like, you will figure it out because you'll put your mind to it. And sometimes, Azriel, I think we've even talked about this. He talks about manifesting, and a lot of people have like weird, ideas about manifestation. But the way that he explains it is essentially when you care so much about something, it ends up happening, and it ends up happening in a way that feels okay. Well, his point is a little bit different. His point is that you care about something so deeply that subconsciously you're doing things and creating things and recognizing things and picking up on cues in the world and whatever that end up making the thing happen that you didn't even realize that you made it happen, but it's because you care so much. That's like his. But my point is that often you'll try very, very hard, and then your solution will happen, but it'll happen in a way that's totally disconnected from the things that you tried doing. So like you could try getting funding from this direction, and and you try really, 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 really hard. And you're like, if these things don't work out, I'm not going to have the money. And then something totally random comes in and gets you the money. And you're like, oh, interesting.
Right. I mean, it's interesting. Like the situation that we're in is that we're kind of doing more than what we have money for in a way. Like I'm saying the amount of we're a very small team, but still, like the amount of initial investment that we didn't do like a proper startup, Series A or whatever, and splash. And there's the pros and cons of that, but it puts us in a very stressful place. But I think the benefit is also that once we pass profitability, it's like the storm's behind us.
You own your destiny.
That's it. The storm's behind us. It's like once we have that buffer, like we accumulate a certain amount of money, we put it aside in the bank. We have 6 months of payroll or whatever it is. We have peace of mind. Nothing can stress us out really, unless fundamentally our business is in crisis mode because something is wrong, something's changing in the space.
Right.
But and I think the other path is much easier up front. But the problem is you're just there for many, many years, and then sometimes you hit like bam, like 3 years in, big companies that took a lot of investment are like, okay, we're actually running out of money now. How are we going to do our next round? And then you realize you can't do another round because the economy is in a bad place. Your numbers don't look good. You focused on all the wrong things. So it's
it really, really does.
Makes you focus on the right things.
It really does make you focus on the right thing. It forces you to be correct.
Like if you'll speak right now to a founder of one of these fancy startups, like you won't even speak the same language.
Yeah.
He'll be telling you about all the cocktail parties and all the hotshot people that he met. And you'll be like saying, we just hit profitability. And he'll be like, oh, really? Cool.
I think the question I'm beginning to hate most is, can you send me your deck? I find it to just be like the dumbest. I was talking to somebody. This is actually very interesting. We should cut this out as a clip because I actually meant to ask him if I could write a post, but we could do a video on it. I had a meeting today with a guy who ran the venture arm for an extremely large health system, like one of the largest in the country. And he was running the whole thing. And he got fed up and he left. And he left because he was like, it was garbage. Like we have interesting companies that are working on things and it doesn't, but we became too risk averse because of whatever. And so he and I were kind of,
what's the fund? It's like an investment fund?
Yeah, a lot of health systems have a venture arm that they'll invest in companies.
Venture, okay.
Yeah. So he left, and we were going back and forth about it, and he was telling me like, yes, absolutely. His like it sucks. They're not there for your success. And I was telling him, and so a little bit from him, but often they're actually diametrically opposed to the success of the company because they do not want you to be successful. They need you to be a certain mold of success. They need you to be a multi-billion-dollar company. And if you're not that multi-billion-dollar company, they need you to go bust as soon as possible. That's what they need from you. And he was saying like, yeah, like they would, he was totally agreeing. And he said like, he advises companies today, which is exactly kind of at least the first step of this. He's like, bootstrap a company, become profitable, and then sell to PE or whatever, like exit. That's what you do. He's like, the whole venture thing is so broken. And I told him like, every time I'm sitting with these funds across these like 26, 28-year-old MBAs who just got out of school and they're sitting there asking all their questions from their reports, from their Excel sheets, from their ChatGPTs, from their, then they never built anything. And they're just like, it's just so
It's like people
unappealing.
watching Hollywood movies and then taking cues on how to
go to war,
how to run their life or how to do things. And it's like you hear all these stories from Silicon Valley, but no one's like highlighting this is 1 in 1,000. This is 1 in, the other 999 are not going to tell you how terrible their outcome was.
Yeah.
And how brutal it was and how they totally don't recommend doing it. So you hear all these fancy stories and it's like this brainwashing machine.
Yeah.
And
everyone is full of garbage. There's so much smoke and mirrors. Everybody is full of garbage. Every valuation, every number you ever hear. So we're talking a company today that has 100,000 patients on their technology, but in reality they have 6,000 patients. It's like everybody is just.
But I think there's also different tiers. I think like if you look at the startups that are Silicon Valley startups, like the ones that are backed by very reputable VCs like Sequoia, Founders Fund. Over there, you're going to find a lot of very interesting startups with a lot of very smart people focused on very good, serious problems and doing well. I think there's that's probably like the 5% of the best startups, and then you have like the 95% that's just trying to be that, but they're just not cut out for it.
Right.
And even that 5%, most of them fail. I'm saying it's not like it's glamorous, but they have fun because they're around friends, they're having fun, they're getting paid from their VCs, like they don't care.
Right.
I mean, the founders ultimately care because then they find out that they spend 10 years of their life and they don't own even a piece of their company.
Right.
But I think there's different tiers. I think a lot of the stories that you're talking about are like the lower tier, like the lower end.
Yeah, could be. But this guy was telling me, he's like, all the VCs are investing in all these health tech companies. And he said the vast majority of healthcare startups that sell for sub 300 mil. So he's like, to him, he's seeing all these, ambient listeners and all these massive health tech unicorns. And he's like, he knows that this is a joke. Like, he knows that this is, so.
The VC world is over. There's too much money in the VC world. It's, how everything works in cycles. So basically, the VC did very well in the last, up to a few years ago. They did really, really well. Some funds did 50% year over year, and you listen to some of the what's it called, GPs. They'll tell you, and it's not because we did such brilliant picking. It's just because like this the industry that reflects the growth of the industry. So then everybody hears about these stories, and then everybody wants in on this, and then you get these big funds that are taking opportunity, and they're saying, okay, we're creating a big fund, you can come be part of the VC, and then they start taking fees like 2% per year, and then their main profit is the 2% per year, so they start optimizing towards larger funds and keeping selling people the story, but ultimately, in the next few years, there's going to be a bust of a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like it's a bubble. I think the VC world's in a bubble that's going to bust ultimately. And people are going to be like, nah, VC, the thing is, it was the thing of the 2010s or the 20 whatever teens. And then, now there's too much money there. There's too much money and more money than what you need. So then you have a lot of startups that are just starting up and just like going for crazy stuff like you're saying, and the VCs are like happy to give them the money. So yeah, it's an inefficient space.
I was talking to a guy who's raised a lot of money in his life, like probably hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's like, you want to know how to raise from a VC? It's really simple. You don't know how VCs think, so that's it. He's like, you want to raise from VC? And I'm like, no.
Let me guess.
Okay, go.
You tell him the TAM of the space that we're going into is $10 billion. If we get 5%, we're at, what is it, $500 billion, $500 million, right?
So I don't remember. I have to get the exact wording from it. It was something along the lines of, you just need to make a backwards calculation. You just need to know that the VC wants to make.
He wants to make a spreadsheet. He wants to do
10x or 100x on their money.
Okay.
So if, let's say, they want to make, I don't know, what do they typically make? 10x?
I mean,
whatever they want to make. So then you make that your valuation, and then you go down to the percentage that they want to make, and that's how much you're raising. So he's like, they want to make, I don't know, 100x. So you need to be worth $1 billion. That's your valuation, and none of that, like whatever. And then you need to be raising the $100 million, and that's it.
1 second. They want to make 100x. So that means
basically you just need to reverse engineer what multiple they want to make on their money.
Right.
That's it.
But you have to explain to them how you could be.
Right.
That
but
amount,
all of that is just narrative.
And now you're 100 times less.
But he's like, all that is narrative. Like you just need to know that they want to make X amount. So you make that your mark, and then you just reverse engineer how much you have to raise based on what they want to make. And that's it. He's like, right. And you're speaking their language, and that's it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's probably the majority of them, but the good ones, I'm sure they scrutinize very well. Like they understand the space. They they try to understand the path to to profitability, to product market fit, the unit economics, go to market.
Whatever. I guess coming back to the larger point, I'm starting to really appreciate. I think we're starting to see the fruits of slowly, like just now, like just slowly starting to see the fruits of the labor of like just forcing ourselves to build in this squeeze, you know what I mean? And just ourselves, and no big checks helping us out. And on my other business, I'm really, really realizing it, because now I see other businesses in the space, and I see the ones that are funded, they're absolute nightmares. They never had to make money, and so they're just bleeding cash all over the place, and their cap tables are a mess, and they just so messy. And it's just like, when you're forced to build a clean business, you build a clean business because you don't have any other way.
Interesting. I mean, we're in an interesting space right now, an interesting time, because on the one hand, you have, I think we would have had a recession. We were technically in a recession, but we would have felt it. It would have been like an official recession everybody feels, if not for this massive surprise of AI coming in
Interesting.
and lifting the whole economy. If you take like the Mag 7, like the analysis was, if you take the Mag 7 out of the S&P 500, there was a massive loss that qualifies for way more than a recession in, what was it, 2023, 2024 even. So the Mag 7, with all their money that came in from AI, they're able to basically hold up the whole economy and even lift it. So you have the tale of two cities here. You have the whole VC world, all the old apps, all the old software stories, all that coming crashing. And then at the same time, you have the AI taking off like it's 1995 with the dot-com era. So, but the good news is the AI is real. We know it's real. So it's not going to come crashing. There's going to be bubbles.
Meaning the
probably.
valuation, the value add of the companies that added trillions or whatever to their market cap, like the Nvidias and the Microsofts. And
we're seeing the first order of the money coming through, which is basically making the bet. People are buying inference because people are buying. Okay, so you have Nvidia's creating the chips and they're selling it to the clouds. The clouds are renting it out to customers. So all the money is happening on those two steps: Nvidia, the cloud, and also you have the AI companies for the closed source AI models. So all the money right now is coming in over there, is being invested in there. But so the big question is the value going to come out into the economy? Will all the people that spend for AI training, will all that trickle into value to consumers that they're willing to pay sustainably over years? And that's the big question, because it's not, if the money came from consumers and it continues to come, then that's proof that there's real value. But it's not. It's still the investment, sort of the capex. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, I'm certain, and we all know that AI is real. It gives us efficiency. It gives us, it helps us be way more productive. So, yeah. I'm sure it's gonna pan out to be a big boom.
Yeah, I think often it's like I think it's so much of like an efficiency booster that it's almost hard to quantify. Like, I can't quantify what ChatGPT does for me in my life, but I also can't live without it. Like,
it's interesting. I spoke to someone that uses AI a lot for coding, and he told me that it works super fast, and it does a lot of things like fully vibe coding AI. And then I was like, overall, are you seeing a massive efficiency boost? It's like, I don't know. But it could be he's doing so many things. It could be hard for him to quantify.
That's what I'm saying. It's
could be
so
hard.
interwoven.
But I'm curious because there's a lot of like, a gambler will always talk about his wins. He'll never talk about his losses. So like, I'm not saying this is not gambling. This is not like we're not, addicted to AI or we're not like part of a cult or anything. But I'm just saying, like, sometimes we see so when you're vibe coding and it's huge, it's doing a lot, you don't realize all the time that you go and correct it and maintain it. I don't know. It's just an anecdote. I'm not putting too much weight into that, but
an interesting thing happened. I spoke at a conference last week in Orlando, and we had this little panel. This is actually so funny. So we had this panel. So it was me and two other panelists and then the moderator. And so I asked the crowd, you want to get a feel of the room. And so a couple questions in, I basically asked the crowd, raise your hand if you use AI, every day. The entire room raised their hand. And then I said, okay, raise your hand if you use it every day for work. Everybody raised their hand. And then a couple questions later, I don't know how it came up, but we asked the room, raise your hand if you get an ROI from your AI use every day, fully expecting the whole hand to go up. Nobody. Nobody. I'm talking 2 people in the room. But it gets funnier. I'm like, what? Because like I use AI every day, and I absolutely would have raised my hand, like absolutely. So I'm like, okay, 1 second. Maybe they just don't. Maybe they're taking it for granted. Like maybe they're just like, oh, whatever. I don't know, but like I take it for granted. So I doubled down. I asked the room, who uses AI every day and is disappointed with the results of the AI? Everybody raised their hand. I'm like,
Wow.
so
Okay,
wait,
that
it
explains
gets funnier. I'm like, wait a second. We need to understand who we're talking to. So it was a conference for ACOs. We go, if you're an ACO, raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. We're like, okay. If you're a health system, raise your hand. Nobody raised their hand. I'm like, wait a second. This entire room is full of vendors, and you're all AI vendors, and you all hate your tech. Like it was all just the vendors that came to hear the AI spiel, you know. That was the whole room. So I was like, first of all, you all hate your technology, and that's hilarious. But second of all, beyond that, it was very perplexing.
But the vendors are probably not using their own technology. They're probably using like these AI sales platforms.
Yeah, but it was definitely perplexing because it is not my or anybody in my orbit's lived experience.
So there's no ACOs there? No.
In the room, that was like the joke. I think there was like maybe a couple.
Wow.
I think it was basically all the vendors came to hear the AI because we were doing the AI panels. They wanted to hear what we were doing, and so you end up with just this like,
wow,
this cycle of stupidity sometimes at these things, which made me think I have this vision for like the Healthcare Trailblazers podcast that I think could be really interesting. Like these panels end up basically being often pointless. Like it ends up just being a cycle of echo chamber. It's 3 panels. Oh yeah. We're all, we're all. I was thinking how interesting it would be if we could bring, and I could totally do this. I think it's just budget, but like take the Healthcare Trailblazers podcast and make it only in person. So either I fly out or I fly people in, and you basically do a panel. So you get a couple people together, all interesting people, all that have positions to speak truth. Not like I have to say talking points, like you actually are able to say what's on your mind. And you do like a Joe Rogan, like 2-3 hour podcast about real things that you actually can argue about and actually have an opinion on, and don't have to like be there, because the incentive structure around these panels is just to make first of all, you want to make the conference look good, you want to make your other panelists look good, you're not going to call out your fellow panelists, and you want to make yourself look good. That's the incentive structure. So I think that can be like a very interesting thing there. I really want to do it. I just need some funding, but yeah, I'm not going to BC.
You don't have time.
I don't have time. I think that would be worth the time. Because even if you do one a month, a proper, solid 3-hour conversation on healthcare topics with like legit leaders, people that
you have
understand.
to kind of like set it up where like you get a few people that, this guy has an opinion about this, guy has an opinion about that.
You set it up.
And kind of tell them, okay, we're going to talk about this topic. I know you're more of this, you believe in this, you believe in that. Let's like try to fight it out.
And then I would like facilitate to make sure the opposite of what most facilitators do. Most facilitators make sure everyone's playing nice. I would basically make sure to instigate.
Screaming. Let's get the screaming going.
Let's get the yelling. Yeah. And then eventually, I think to replace
we need some. That's really what we're missing in healthcare. We're missing energy.
Yeah.
Healthcare is like this low energy space. No?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is? It's everything's so slow moving and so like bureaucratic and like regulated. And wow.
Yeah. We got to bring the energy.
Bring the fun in healthcare.
Put the fun in healthcare. All right, feature updates. Since we've talked last, we have been crushing it on the product level. Bringing you updates. We have completed texting. We've completed video. We've completed ambient recording. And as you know, we have our telephony platform, making CareCo a one-stop shop to have all forms and formats of communicating with patients all in one place. The reason why that's important is not just for the convenience of being able to chat with a patient no matter how you are chatting with the patient, whether that is video, telephony, texting, or in person, but CareCo's AI brain is now able to analyze and listen to every single patient conversation, retain that, train our kind of individual little brains that we're building on every single patient so that you can get more powerful call guides, more powerful documentation, and overall a much smarter system. So that kind of has completed the CareCo feature stack as far as communication, and it's been incredible since we've launched 3 months ago.
Well, messaging and video, right?
The full stack. Been a lot of fun.
You know, that triggered a thought. There's actually one thing that we're missing in communication, and I'm curious why that's not even important.
What?
Oh, faxing. I mean, that's another one.
Time travel? What?
No, telegraphing. No, I'm going backwards. Yeah, we can go, but email. I don't even know if it's a thing.
Email?
But we don't have email. No one even asked for email, right? Why is that?
Well, you can't really email patients. I guess you could, from a HIPAA perspective, it would be the same as texting, is what you're saying?
I mean, you're saying if it's PHI, you can do that, or you can send a secure link through email. Yeah. And I'm just curious why that's not even a request.
We do have some email modules.
It's very easy to incorporate. It's the easiest thing probably to implement. But
you just mail too, right?
It's easier than phone, video, and SMS, like 10 times, 100 times easier than every single one of them. But no one asked for it. I'm curious why that is.
Because they don't use email.
So now we have all the communication. Everybody can do all their communicating with their patients through CareCo. So we know the whole history. We get from the HR all the data there. You get a full picture of you. You give it to AI, crunch all the data, and it's going to be the perfect plan of care for the patient. Yeah. Whether it comes to a call, whether it's an in-person session, or at some point we're also going to have probably alerts to kind of say, hey, why don't you check up on this with the patient? I mean, we do have that in the way of tasks, but tasks are more general.
Right. So yeah, exciting stuff ahead. Here's to episode 1 of season 2. Well, hi.